I was just thinking about all the people that I look up to, right? Be it in this YouTubing space or just in general, right? The people that I look up to, the people that really inspire me. It's funny when you run across their old content or their old material, be it in a movie or an episode, and man, you look at them and you're like, yo, when you look at who they were and who they are right now, some of them are worlds apart, right? Like I'm thinking of whether how you may feel about him, I really don't care, but I look at the legendary Kevin Samuels, right? If you find his old videos, my God. Oh, wow. Bow tie, like borderline nerdy, right? And a lot of us might be laughing at that, like, oh my God, I can't believe that. But for me, it kind of pointed to a really important lesson, which was you have to go through the process, whether you like it or not. There's no skipping it. And if you are the person that tries to skip it and you get everything, like you go and watch, okay, they've got this camera, they've got this setting, they've got that, and you try all of that, right? You can have all the right equipment, but without the experience that comes from the process, it's useless. Like you are not going to, it's you trying to, some of us make this, fall into this trap of trying to emulate somebody at their peak, right? Like there's one thing, it's one thing to admire and then to kind of work towards it, but you trying to copy paste somebody's greatness level or mountaintop moment, right, or stage in their life, and you are literally at step one, or you haven't even gotten on the map, you haven't even like unpacked the box of your process, of your gift, of whatever it is you're supposed to do in this life, is actually, you're shooting yourself in the foot, the way I see it, right? Who am I to preach to you? But the beautiful thing about the process is that, when you look at them and you're like, my God, they're perfect. Like, look at her delivery. She's just on point. Like, it's coming out naturally. Wow, that is amazing. Trust me, like, I know, for instance, that this is not me at my best. Like, this is not me at my level best, right? These are the days. These are the come-up days. And I'm okay. I am accepting the fact that right now where I am is exactly where I'm supposed to be with the skill set that I have. Am I learning? Am I teaching myself how to do better? Absolutely. But I also understand, and I give myself grace. I extend grace towards myself to know that, listen, where you are right now, with the experience that you have in the game, right, in this thing that you're doing, right, broadcasting, podcasting, these are the skills that you have right now. Can you learn? Can you be better? Absolutely. But right now, this is what you have, and use it to the fullest. It's because when you've used everything that you have to its fullest, that's when you break the box. And that's when you break the borders of what you have, and now more is given to you, right? But some of us look at a seasoned professional and you're like, I'm gonna be just like them, and I'm gonna try, and you try and get all the mannerisms, and it just looks fake on you. It's like an ill-fitting suit. It doesn't quite sit nicely because it doesn't tailor for you. You know why? Experience does that for you. Experience is the tailor. Experience is the one that fine cuts the suit to all the mannerisms, all the gifts, and even some of the awkward flaws that actually become tools that inspire people. It cuts that. It actually then fits it to you properly over time. You can't fake it. Like, you can't, it's not instant, right? You can't pop it into the microwave and then it's go time. No. Like, when I saw that video of Kevin Samuels, I was like, oh my God, what a journey. And here's the thing, some of us miss out, the gold that is in the process. It's not only just about you. Like, for me, when I saw that video, and I was like, cheapers, this is where Kevin started. What it did for me was that it told me, you can start too. You can start too. A lot of us are intimidated by seeing somebody at their highest level, right? As the highest possible expression of who they are. And we're just like, what's the point? I can do that. I can beat that. But if there's the early days version of you, and people are actually fortunate to actually have that on record, you can inspire them to say, hey, listen, wait a minute, this is when Dado started. Like, Dado started in his mom's car, because this is not my car. You've heard me say this all the time, guys. Like, I'm a regular ass Tyrone, right? I'm like driving around in my mom's car. I'm still staying at home, guys, right? Like, still recovering, building my life up again after COVID, and taking a leap of faith when I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave the thing that I thought I was gonna do for the rest of my life. In 2019, I was like in full-time ministry, and I thought this is gonna be the thing that I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And then I got out, and I was just like, it's not enough. It's not enough for me and my mom. I want my mom to have a better life. And I dared to bet on myself, as my friend so kind of would say, that you gotta bet the whole house. and I bet the whole house, right? And I took knocks, lost my car, right? I love that green machine, man. She's gone. I had to sell her. It's tough because the guy who bought the car is actually staying in the same neighborhood as me. So from time to time, I see my baby rolling down the street, and that is, oh man, I learned how to drive in that car. I learned how to drive in that car. In that car, I asked out the girl that I thought I would never get to ask out, and I did, man. I mean, she said no, right? And I'm gonna tell you guys about the power of no one day, right? But so many memories in that car, and it's just rolling down the street. It's not mine anymore, right? It's not mine anymore. This is where I've started. This is where I'm starting. I'm in my mom's car. I'm back at home, right? I used to have my own place, and it wasn't the grandest place in the world, but it was mine. But it's all gone, right? And I could sit there and I'd be like, and cry about it. But I'm here now, starting in this car. Because I best believe one of these days you're gonna be shocked. The interior is gonna be black, and the little headrest at the back is gonna say Weissach, right? And if those of my Porsche people know what that means, it means I got the 911 GT3 with the Weissach group, pack, the sport pack. But I get ahead of myself. But you gotta go through the process, whether you like it or not. Like, you can't skip that. And you hope to God that you don't skip that. I hope to God you don't skip that, because here's the funny thing about resources sometimes too early. Some of you have got resources at your disposal, and those resources, those very resources, are the worst thing to happen to you. Because the difference between having resources and then being resourceful. But now imagine when you're resourceful and you have resources, right? The resourcefulness comes from the experience and the process that you have to go through, and then the resources get there, right? It's funny enough, because the experience and the process gets you to the resources. And by the time the resources line up, you are like a seasoned pro. It's the equivalent of giving a cadet, right, a private in the army, and you give him a sniper rifle and he doesn't know what to do. Yeah, sure, he can pull the trigger, he's got all the best equipment, but he doesn't know what to do with it. And then you give that same equipment to a seasoned pro, and watch what they do. They'll do damage. And some of you are just rushing that process, and I do it too sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, I just wish I was there already at my own place, and I had this, and then I forget that by the time, have you ever seen somebody who's at the top of their game and they are less moved by where they are than you? You're like, oh my God, you've got this, and you've got this. And they're like, yeah, I know. And you're like, oh, how can you sound grateful? It's not that he's ungrateful or she's ungrateful. They have had time to settle into who they are. They have had time to settle into their greatness, right? So that it doesn't move them, it doesn't phase them, it doesn't overwhelm them to the point where they're not able to function anymore. And that comes with the process. That comes over time. It can be instant, right? So you can't rush it. You can't jump it.
You shall not pass!
You can't fast forward the process. It has to be there. The process is for both you and the people that actually need to follow you, or the people that you're going to inspire, right? Because one of the highest things we can do in this world is to help somebody look up. Because a lot of the times people are living here, they're like, oh, my life is horrible, my life is not going to get better. And then they see you trying and failing. And then, but like, wait a minute, he's failing forward and failing up, right? And sometimes you literally plunge to the bottom of what you thought was your rock bottom. And you're like, wait a minute, there's a further rock bottom? My goodness, okay. And I can bounce back up from that. And then when they look at that, they find the record of you having started in your mom's car and in your backyard that you grew up in. And they were thinking, jeepers, wait a minute, I can do it. I can bounce back. He did. She did. Look at where she bounced back from. So don't hide the days. Don't hide your come up days. Don't hide the difficult days. Don't hide your less than perfect days. Don't hide the days when you were trying to perfect this craft. Trust me, it's for somebody. Somebody's gonna benefit more from these come up days in your life, from my come up days. And I'm saying it right now. Somebody's gonna benefit from this very video rather than the video when I'm sitting in the 911. And a lot of people are like, oh, why are you so much? Like, I'm using the 911 as a benchmark, like, because it's not about the car, it's about the person that I'm going to have to be in order to be able to drive that car. And by the way, I said it to somebody. I said, when I have that car, it's not going to be on some, it's not going to be in installments. I'm not going to buy that thing on credit. No, I'm going to buy it cash, right? I'm going to swipe that baby. I mean, I'd love to be dramatic and walk into it like cases, like, but I get arrested, right? Because like, this one was an cash in transit heist. This one, how can you walk in here? Or like in excess of 5 million rand. Hold a minute, wait a minute, let's roll it back. Where does money come from, right? Like, I'm not trying to get arrested, but best believe it's not going to be on credit, because that's the standard, right? Like, I'll let you know the secret. Like, so I saw a used 911 GT3 last year, right? and the price tag was 4.8 million rand, right? And right there and then I made a promise to myself, and I said I will not buy this car, right? At 4.8 million rand, I said I will not buy this car unless minimum it's 10% of what I hold in cash, not in assets all over, like full on, you know, net worth, in cash, unless it's 10% of what I hold in cash in my bank account. Yeah, 4.8 million, you do the math. I need at least minimum 40 million rand sitting in cash in my bank account before I touch that car. I'm not about to be in debt. As much as I love the idea, and I love the future and the plan of getting myself a 911 GT3, I will not be irresponsible about how I get it. Some of us need to learn that, like, don't pull the trigger too soon, right? You're gonna have to go through the process. Right now, how much do I have in my bank account? Nowhere near $1 million rand. Trust me, I'm nowhere near that, but it's part of the process. I am willing to dare to go through the process to get to that, right? Like, guys, you will go through the process. Can I encourage some of you? When I started this podcast, I was shooting on a 2018 model Huawei P20 Lite. Right now, I'm shooting this very episode in the same car, but the device has changed. I'm shooting everything on an iPhone 11. Right? It might not be the latest, but it's a 15. I'll be like, oh, no, but it's a massive improvement for me. Guess what? It's in the process. I don't know if I had would I have had this new phone right now if I hadn't started the podcast? I don't know. I'd like to think no, because there was no push. There would have been no need. Why did I get this new phone? Not so that I can brag. No, it's for better content. Like, trust me, the visuals are so much better. And this is just a front-facing camera. Don't get me started on the back-facing camera, which we're going to switch to later on when I figure out the tech. But process. That's part of the process. Like, you cannot jump the stages in your process. You have to go through the process. And it makes you dangerous, so that by the time you're a seasoned pro, by the time the spotlight lands on you, you're seasoned, man. Don't pray for fast forwarding, because the problem with fast forwarding is that when that spotlight lands on you, when it shines on you, it's going to also shine on the flaws and the deep, cavernous, screaming flaws that you have not had time to work out during your process. So value the process, thank the process, like, be grateful for the process, for the come up days, for the hard days, for the days of anonymity. Like, anonymity is a gift. Being unknown is a gift. Embrace it, because this is where you get to mess up. This is the lab where you get to try new concoctions. Like, oh, that combo does not work. We are not doing that again. Imagine trying out a new combo, and you're not just on the national stage, but you're in a global, international stage, and boom, it blows up in your face. Oh my God, right? And the world does not forgive. Okay, some people thinking, yeah, and it's okay. No, the world does not forgive sometimes, and that's the reality of the world that we live in. Okay, like Eminem said, like, he said, you only get one chance. Like, one chance. And these days, the days of being unknown, one day there'll be somebody else sitting next to, in the passenger seat, and we're doing recordings. I know I haven't recorded this episode with anybody, right? I always co-host sometimes. You never know who's going to be sitting next to me. You'd be amazed. Some of you are going to be shocked the day you're like, wait a minute, what? Who's that sitting next to him? Wait, what? That's the guest? But I have to go through these days. You have to go through your come up days, whether you like it or not. You can't skip it. You can't fast forward it. You can't. No. There is no instant. Anything that's going to last cannot be instant. There must be labor. Accept the labor that comes with your process. Okay? Accept the labor and the hard days that come with the process. They're there for your good, ultimately. But fundamentally, actually, not even ultimately, but they're there for your good. But fundamentally, they're for the ones who are coming behind you. I'm not building this just for me, but I'm building it for the ones who are to come. The ones who are coming up behind me are going to be like, listen, your life became a blueprint for the life that I wanted. And be grateful, because when you build a blueprint, the beauty of building a blueprint, it's not based on luck. You can replicate this. Like, I can replicate me sitting here right now. See how the voice changes and the tonalities? That came with time. It comes naturally now, but guess what? I had to find that. Now I can switch my voice up and down. It can be like, hey, it can be like, oh, happy and everything. But then I can also, when I want to deliver something that is profound, I know that, for instance, I need to look at the camera. I can drop the tone. I can drop, where it's at, the octaves, like everything, so that the message lands. That comes with time. You can't rush that. Like, you can watch this and try and copy it, but it's knowing when to put it all together. You can't rush that. You can't rush that. That's the thing about the process. It's the beauty and the hard thing about the process. You can't skip it, and pray to God that you don't skip it. Don't pray to God that you don't figure out how to skip it, because then you'd be lacking somewhere. So by the time I get up on that stage and I'm sitting next to David Letterman, if he's still alive at that time, and I'm sitting casually across him and we're having an interview, I'm seasoned. Because I've gone through all the seasons of process. Like, that's why they call you a seasoned pro. You've gone through all the seasons of preparation, so that you're seasoned in that moment. That you're a beautiful meal for people to consume, right? Like, nobody wants somebody bland. When you're bland, you're ill-prepared, you're underprepared, you're not seasoned. But when you're seasoned, like good chicken, everybody enjoys. Everybody enjoys just hearing and consuming the beauty and the beautiful meal that you are. But you've got to go through the process. Embrace the process. It's your best friend. Here's where you figure it out, so that when you're out there, you ain't gotta get ready, because you're ready all the time. Embrace the process. Love you guys.